Hello everyone, this is Deepak Gupta logging on this platform of College Dekho Learn, and we will take up this topic of financial management where we have to link the we have to understand the relationship of the capital structure with the basic assumption. If you remember our last session, the basic assumption that the capital structure will be consisting only of the equity and the debt. We have ignored preference capital because of the obvious reasons that when by character the preference capital has a fixed financial cost like debt, but still the cost of preference capital is more than the debt, and also it does not give you any tax saving. So in practical life, if someone has to use the leverage, then they will use it only through the debt because the funds are cheaper and they are further reduced, or they will have further cost saving because of the inherent tax savings. So therefore we presumed and we showed in the last session on net income approach that the value of the firm will be equal to the value of the equity plus the value of the debt, presuming that the overall EBIT will be constant and the value will be directly proportional to the EBIT and indirectly proportional to the overall cost of capital, with the presumption that KO will be equal to the weight of debt, the cost of debt, and the weight of equity and the cost of equity, where this WD denotes the leverage. So when we say this word capital structure, so we are presuming, or we should understand, that it is the proportion of the WD and the WE. That is, how much is the weight of debt and how much is the weight of equity. That is what capital structure is. So it implies that how much is the leverage. So if the weight of debt is higher, that is the inherent interest cost is higher, it means the fixed financial costs are higher, it means the leverage, that is the financial leverage, is higher. So capital structure will affect the leverage one way or the other, and it is going to affect the cost of capital, and this cost of capital here is KO, and we have to understand its impact on the overall value of the firm. So some people, through their reasons, like we discussed in the last session, the net income approach of the Durand, that this capital structure through these two parameters will affect the value of the firm, and that was the that was the net income approach. But in this session, that this capital structure will not affect. So the capital structure does not affect the value of the firm. And how is that justified? With the assumptions, that is what you call the net operating income approach. So in this session, we will understand the NOI approach, its reasons, its assumptions, and how it justifies that there won't be any effect of the capital structure on the value of the firm, though the value of the firm by the assumption is indirectly proportional to the KO, which has already implied that the value of the firm will be equal to EBIT upon KO. So this formula directly showing that being the EBIT constant, how will somehow understand that KO, who will get affected by the leverage or who should get affected by the leverage, will not affect the value of the firm. So we have to understand those reasonings, and those reasonings we will discuss, and then we will discuss it through an example. So for that we have certain specific assumptions, like we discussed in the earlier session on net income approach, where there were certain general assumptions which are applicable for both the net income approach and the net operating income approach, and there were certain specific assumptions which are only specific to the theory. So one of the general assumptions that was discussed in that last session was, and that last session you can always log in to our channel and look for the session named Net Income Approach, NI Approach by Deepak Gupta on College Dekho Learn YouTube channel. So that earlier assumption was that the cost of debt will always be less than the cost of equity. The cost of debt will always be less than the cost of equity. So how the two approaches differ is prevalent by this comparative graph, that if I go in the last session, that is when we discussed about the net income approach. In the net income approach, we said that if we take the leverage here and if we take the cost of funding here, so KD is always less than KE. And what was said in the net income approach? That both KD and KE, both KD and KE remained constant with leverage. It implied that whatever is the size, it implied that whatever is the size of the debt, the rate of interest on debt is same, and in spite of the enhanced leverage, in spite of the enhanced risk, the equity is satisfied with the original returns, that is the cost of equity is also constant. So in the earlier session we said both KE and both KD, they remained constant. So therefore what was planned, what was said, that as the leverage is 0, this KE will be equal to KO and it will go on decreasing as the leverage increases, and this KO will never touch the KD, that is KD will never be equal to KO, because it is the case when there is no equity. वो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, तो no equity is possible. Therefore KD will never be equal to KO. So because the EBIT was constant, therefore the reduction in the KO increase the value of the firm, and that was what discussed in the net income approach. Now, why I am just revising you with the net income approach, so that you can understand how the net operating income is different approach from the net income approach, that is how NOIs, fundas are different from NI, that if we move with the NOI approach, the focal point of our session today, so the important assumption is that the KD, which is less than the KE, will always remain constant. That is the KD which is less than KE. So this KD will always remain constant irrespective of leverage. यानी कि लोन का साइज कितना भी हो, रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट सेम रहेगा, बट as the leverage increases, so the second assumption is that as the leverage increases, the risk of equity increases, and hence they want more returns, and because they want more returns, so to achieve the objective of wealth maximization, because if they want more returns and if we don't give them that, then what will happen? That the demand for the share will go down, that is the price of the share will go down, and that is not the objective we want to serve, because our objective is wealth maximization, which will be served only if the price goes up. Therefore the KE is increased with increased leverage. So what it implied, that if we draw a graph again like that, so because we had the leverage here and because we had the cost here, so there is no confusion on the funda that KD will always be less than KE, and in case of zero leverage the KE will be equal to KO. So in those cases because V is equal to E plus D and V is equal to EBIT upon KO, so at zero leverage, what is happening? D is equal to 0. And please, all these formulas are applicable only if there is no taxation. If there is taxation, then we will adapt the formula and we will show that when we do certain questions on the topic. So, but the basic theory assumes that there is no taxation, and therefore these formulas have been shown with the original assumption of the theory. So at zero leverage the D is 0 and therefore V will be equal to E and the KO will be equal to KE, and because the I will be equal to 0, therefore the EBIT will be equal to EBT. Hence, we can say that V will be equal to E is equal to earning before tax upon में KE, and if we presume that there is no taxation, then this is also equal to earning after tax, also known as profit after tax, so it will become PAT upon KE. So we can derive this formula when there is no leverage. So if I move on with the theory, that with the leverage the KD remained constant, and because with the leverage equity wanted more, so we started paying them more what they wanted, so that they are satisfied and the price of the share does not go down. Therefore the KE will start increasing, so the KD will remain constant but the KE will start increasing with the leverage. So what is happening here, that the KO is equal to WDKD plus WEKE, and V was equal to EBIT upon KO. ये वाला कांस्टेंट था. तो पुरानी नेट इनकम अप्रोच में because KO was increasing, hence value was decreasing. But what is happening here, that with the increased leverage, that is as the WD increases, it pushes the KO towards upward direction. That is, यानी कि इसको एक बार मैं दोबारा बोलता हूँ, ठीक है? Sorry for the little gulf. As the leverage increases, that is the size of the debt increases, as it is happening here. What is happening here? The KE is increasing. So this is causing the KE to increase. And this is remaining constant. So size of the debt is causing the KE to increase. Now this will have contra effects on the KO. Because the KE is increasing, so this increase in KE will cause the KO to increase. क्योंकि इस पूरी वेटेड एवरेज में अगर एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट बढ़ गया तो KO बढ़ना शुरू हो जाएगा, तो KE के बढ़ने से KO बढ़ेगा, लेकिन वेट ऑफ डेप्ट के बढ़ने से क्योंकि KD KE से कम था तो चीपर प्रोपोर्शन बढ़ जाएगा. यानी कि दोबारा बोलता हूँ, क्योंकि KD KE से कम था तो WD के बढ़ने से इस सस्ते वाली कॉस्ट का प्रोपोर्शन बढ़ जाएगा। सो द WD का इंक्रीज KO को नीचे की साइड पुश करेगा एंड द नेट ऑपरेटिंग इनकम presumed that the increase in the leverage causing the KE to increase, causing the KO to increase will be contradicted in equal proportion by the resultant effect of WD causing KO to go down। यानी कि सिंपल हिंदी में WD के बढ़ने से जितना KE बढ़ा वो जितना KO को ऊपर लेकर गया उतना ही WD के बढ़ने से जो KO नीचे गिर रहा था उन दोनों का इम्पैक्ट बराबर है एंड दैट इज व्हाट विल कॉज द KO टू रिमेन कांस्टेंट। तो इस फॉर्मूले में KO भी कांस्टेंट हो जाएगा। तो जब ऊपर वाले भी कांस्टेंट नीचे वाले भी कांस्टेंट तो इर्रेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द लीवरेज यानी कि ये जो ग्राफ है ये KO का स्ट्रेट हो जाएगा। तो KO का ग्राफ स्ट्रेट होने का मतलब क्या है? लीवरेज के बढ़ने से KO पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, EBIT पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, therefore the value of the firm will also remain constant। So we can summarize from here, that is what will happen from here, that is the increased leverage, that is change in capital structure is not affecting the cost of capital and therefore इसीलिए hence the value of the firm remains constant। And that is how we summarize the net operating income approach। That is how we summarize the net operating income approach। Is that clear? So I hope I have made you understand in very clear terms what is net operating income approach। I will also show you a little example to how to use and how to see it in practical terms as per the net operating income approach, how even any change in capital structure is not affecting the value of the firm। ठीक है? So for that I am not creating the question on my own so that you feel confident that whatever question we are doing is from any authorized book, so that you feel more confident about the question। So the question says a firm has an EBIT of rupees 2 lakh। So as per the question the EBIT is rupees 2 lakhs। This is one of the most respected books in financial management। The question says the EBIT is rupees 2 lakhs and belongs to a risk class of 10%। So when we say the risk class of 10%, it means we are saying that the overall cost of capital is 10%। What is the value of the cost of equity capital? So what they want, the calculation of the cost of equity capital is to be calculated if the cost of debt is 6%, so it is fixed, ठीक है, to the extent of, तो जो total funds required थे, total funds required are 10 lakhs and we presume that just to understand the change in leverage, we say that the leverage is either 30% or 40% or 50%। The leverage is either 30% or 40% or 50%। It means in the case 1, in case 2 and in case 3, the debt size, in first case it is 30% of 10 lakhs, that is 3 lakh rupees। In second case the debt is 4 lakhs, that is 40% of 10 lakh rupees। And in third case is the debt size is 5 lakhs, 50% of 10 lakh rupees। By using this funda we can always calculate the value of the firm, which will be EBIT upon KO. So that will come out to be 20 lakhs. So because the value of the firm is 20 lakhs, so the total value is actually may E plus D. So now we have the value of D and the value of E. Therefore, the value of equity in this case will be 17 lakhs. It will be 16 lakhs and it will be 15 lakhs. ठीक है. Further speaking, the EBIT in each case was 2 lakhs. It was also 2 lakhs here. It was also 2 lakhs here. And the interest in first case is 3 lakh per 6%, that is 18,000 rupees. 4 lakh per 6%, that is 24,000 rupees. और 5 lakh per 6%, that is 30,000 rupees. ये हमारा KD था. तो अगर हम EBIT में से इंटरेस्ट माइनस करेंगे, then we will get the figure of earning before tax. So it will come out to be 1,82,000. It will come out to be 1,76,000. It will come out to be 1,70,000. And if you see this above formula from here, where I have written it clearly, that E will be equal to EBT upon KE. So because E is equal to EBT upon KE, or we can say KE will be equal to EBT upon E. Hence, in this case, it will be 1,82,000 upon 17 lakhs. It will be 1,76,000 upon 16 lakhs. And it will be 1,70,000 upon 1,50,000. So if you calculate it, then you will find that this is coming out to be 10.7%. This is coming out to be 11%, and this is coming out to be 11.33%. So you are seeing that as the leverage, that is, as the WD is increasing, the KE is increasing. The KD in all the cases is 6%. That is, it remains constant. That is, the KD is remaining constant, and the value of the firm is also remaining constant. So we have just shown you through numerical data that all the sayings of the net operating income have been proven. So we can always say that with the basic assumption that with the leverage, KD remains constant and the KE increases in proportion to the leverage, in direct proportion to the leverage, we can always be saying that as per the net operating income approach, the capital structure does not affect the value of the firm because the overall cost of capital remains constant. On this note, myself Deepak Gupta, in this closing this session, and we hope to see you in another session.